your method.
So I thought it would be interesting because tonight's a night of readings. That we got some readings from male energy perspective. So Bill's going to help me do some readings. Amadeus is going to help me do some readings tonight. So get ready for your questions at 602-875-0444. Last week we had an absolutely fabulous show with Alana Bleeman about hormones. And if any of you missed that show, please go back to the archives and take a look at what she had to say about hormones because it was really fascinating. And the 90 minutes just flew right on by. We enjoyed her so much, and we're going to have her back. And, she could talk about other things too. She's quite a smart young lady. She's a physician's assistant.
Yes.
And she's a hormone genius.
Yeah, that was my takeaway from sitting here watching that program the other night. Is she was describing how diet and environment and just kind of the blender that we find ourselves in this modern world has changed our hormone frequency to the point where we're going to need a little bit of supplements and we're going to need some things to maintain that even keel, because presently basically the way that we're designed in this world now is that we get to a particular point and we just do a sudden drop,
a nosedive. Yeah, and especially for us baby boomers who are still working later in life and trying to stay active and fit, and we have had such wear and tear on our bodies and done some damage from lifestyles and
well, it's been over 7 years and everything I did was offshore, so it's okay. And James Comey isn't coming after me tonight.
Well, we've got some exciting news about James Van Prague because the tickets went on sale, and I want you to tell everybody, and I sure would appreciate it if you'd share it on your Facebooks, because this is going to be a wonderful event again. James and I have great chemistry on stage, and we enjoy each other's company, and it's going to be a little bit different on what we're going to do on the teaching aspect. But that night of readings, that night of spirit is always awesome. But we have been invited to James' neck of the woods, and we're going to take all of you with us. So we're going to be doing our Southern California tour at the end of June, a couple of days in LA, a couple of days in Laguna, a couple of days in San Diego, and while we're there, we're going to stop by James's place, and we're going to do an angel show with James, and that is going to be super awesome. I'm also going to be on Hay House Radio with him coming up, so watch for that on the Facebook. Last week on Thursday night, we did a night of readings, and that was pretty awesome. We had a good time, connected with a lot of people, and we had a lot of fun. And then we did a wedding. And if you haven't looked at my Facebook post on the wedding, please look at it, because rehearsal night, you can see that I'm talking to the bride and groom, and above us in the sunlight is a heart, and it just absolutely looks amazing. It's such a sign from the universe that this couple is meant to be together, and they were such a beautiful bride and groom, and we had a really good time.
Yeah, it's nice when Spirit smiles like that, and it just kind of sends a blessing right into the whole program.
It was awesome. And we were in Cottonwood. The wedding was in Cornville. And boy, Cottonwood is a nice little town to visit. If you haven't gone up, there's wineries up and down the main street to check out, and there's little shops, and we had a really good time. We stayed in this little boutique hotel called the Tavern, which was a really nice little boutique hotel. We enjoyed it. We really liked being in Cottonwood. It was a lot of fun.
What was so much fun there is that the little shops up and down the street, those are the owners are the operators, and the stories and the things that you get to hear and the fun things. I think the lizard boots that you bought were just pretty spectacular.
I bought used leather. I bought used leather lizard. I can't even speak. I bought used lizard cowgirl boots.
Used lizard leather boots.
Yes, that didn't look used at all. That are going to be absolutely awesome, because my friend Tom have invited us to a charity event in July where it's a cowboy theme, and so I got my boots ready, and we're gonna go support charity that way. The other little bit of an announcement that I have is we're doing something with some great, fabulous women in Sedona. And what's the dates on that, Bill? Do you?
That is October 6th and 7th is the four pillars of abundance. And this is a little bit of a different type of a program because you have four very independent women that look at abundance and the methodology of spirit and the way that it plays into life and the way that you utilize it in order to be abundant. You ask the universe for these gifts, and you don't sit there and wait for the mailman to ring the doorbell. You actually go out there and do things. And each person has a unique, wonderful story of how they have done that. And it's going to be very unrehearsed. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And you're going to get to meet some people that are very, very accomplished individuals.
Well, some of you have seen Courtney Long here with me doing readings. You know, when you look in that child's eyes, she's a child to me, you guys. She's the same age as my son. But when you look at that young woman's into her eyes, you actually can see the pureness of her soul when you look at her eyes. Just a lovely, lovely person, and did some really great readings while she was here. So she's going to be there, and my friend Heather Cluett will be there, and she's a wonderful shaman from Sedona, and has done great work and has helped me immensely, and just is on my top 5 favorite people on the planet. And then we have Melanie Shreenan, Dr. Melanie Shreenan, who has been given the baton by both Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza to teach their work. So that is quite a compliment, and I believe she's the first one that Greg Braden has been giving the baton over to so that she can teach. And then we have a gal that I haven't met, but you've spoken to her, and I hear that she is just awesome too. And
her name is Deborah Stengel, and she is also a recovering attorney, as some of us are. And she owns Sedona Soul Adventures. The work that she does with bringing couples together is absolutely fantastically beautiful. And the thing is that she walked into this program with her eyes wide open, understanding that she is moving from a very rigid, law-embossed world into something that was metaphysical and different and deeper. She has embraced it. And the thing is that she's taken that mentality of creating abundance into that world as well. She did well in the legal world. She is doing quite well in the world that she is now.
Is she a family law? Do you know whether she was into family law or what kind of law she practiced?
No, I don't believe it was family law.
We have to have her here to talk with the angels, or we'll have to go to Sedona. And, that would be really great, is to go to Sedona and have a couple of them be on the show all at once. We can do it at the center where Keith and Jackie are. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
See, that's why you're the boss lady here. You're brilliant.
Well, we'll bring her to you before we do the 4 pillars. So again, I hope you all will share that. Billy and I have been kind of massaging this show a little bit and talking about it and trying to figure out exactly where we have hit a home run and where we haven't. And we are still looking at how to make it better and more improved. And I think actually we've gotten some really great guests, and I've been real honored with the people that have come here. I think it's just going to get better and better, but you want to watch for some emails that he may be throwing out, some questions at you that you want to give him some feedback, and we always welcome your feedback anyway. And so we may change the format just a little bit and actually shift it just a tad. So not too scary, not changing times, not getting too wild and crazy on it, but just some thoughts that we have. So when that email comes, please take a look at it so that we can get this absolutely into a state of perfection for you.
This program really is about the angels.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to do, is we would like your feedback, your ideas, because we are going to do a little bit of tweaking to make sure that we're able to maintain a high quality program and also bring you some of the very, very best guests that there are available out there.
Yes, and we're going to have some of the guests that you really enjoyed back.
Oh yeah. Well, Courtney Long will come back. Dr. Emil Faith will be back.
Alona Bleeman will come back. Dr. Duffy McMahon will come back. I think we're going to have. I think everybody will come back. And I do have a couple of interesting guests in the. I'm hoping that we can make arrangements. I am very interested in the difference between male energy, female energy, male grief, and the difference on how men grieve as compared to how women grieve. And I actually have really been blessed to have a lot of male clients who are willing to share their grief with you. Two men that I'm going to ask to come together for this, who have both lost their spouses to cancer. One has moved on to a relationship, and one has not. And one is in a book about male grief, and I think that's, really, I really like to make this a, spiritual arena where you can learn all the differences and nuances of how energy works on this planet and how different aspects of the karmic profile work. Many of you have gone through grief yourself, and any feedback on that, a slant on that would be great. I also am going to do some suicide survivor. You gotta forgive me, guys. I still have a throat that's not working quite right. I'm also doing some suicide survivor workshop that we have in the making at the Franciscan Renewal Center with another medium from California and one of our angels who unfortunately lost her son that way. And we are going to give all the proceeds of that weekend to back to Suicide Survivor for education and awareness. And we have a lovely counselor that joins us for that weekend too. Jill is her name. I've met her. She's awesome. She does all that grief counseling for people who've lost others through suicide. So that's coming up. We're not quite sure when, right? But in the fall.
Yeah, it's going to be sometime, possibly second or third weekend of October. And it's going to be at the Franciscan Renewal Center is what it appears. And there's going to be a whole lot of different speakers, different workshops. There's going to be so much good information that they have designed it in such ways that if you have an interest in a certain aspect of these topics, there'll be a speaker, there'll be a counselor there that will be able to share information with you. They're putting a lot of work into it.
Super awesome. I have a couple pet charities. That's one, of course, because I deal with a lot of parents who have had lost that way, but also my son has lost a lot of people through suicide, accidental and on purpose, accidentally through drug overdose, and also people that have taken their lives for various reasons. And so it's really important to me because he's suffered with a lot of energy and anxiety and depression over his losses. So we want to make sure that we're educating people and moving that into a place where we can start understanding it at a spiritual level. So we're looking forward to that. But
actually, I'd like to kind of follow up on that a little bit.
Okay.
As one of the things that you're describing are different schools of philosophy for dealing with things like the Hindu, the Buddhist, to be or to do. And then also one of the schools that I followed for so many years, from being a youngster on, was Stoicism.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing, the strengths in that, but also the flaws.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I believe we're going to be visiting a little bit about tonight are ways of actually pulling these things out, taking a look at them, dusting them, and understanding them in such a way as that you can hold them and then allow them to dissipate. And from a Stoic's point of view,
maybe recreate, right?
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
If I could sum it up in 6 sentences, boy, would I be good.
Well, guys, it wasn't until Bill came into my life and he started working with me. Although, again, the phone line is open for us to both do a reading because he's actually a very accomplished reader. 602-875-0444. If you want a reading from a male's perspective, and he does it a little bit differently than I do. He does it very empathically, and I think you'd be interested in that. But until we started combining our thoughts and energies and ideas and life goals together, he didn't describe himself as a suicide survivor, but that's exactly what he is. So it all kind of hit him in the head with a 2x4, and some of his stoicism he had to throw out the window, because when it did hit him, it hit him pretty hard. So it's something that's near and dear to both of our hearts, and so yeah, we're going to do that, and that's going to be awesome.
Well, it's understanding that there are different schools of thought, different philosophies, and it is absolutely worth taking a look at each and every one of them and deciding, what gets you a little bit closer to heart, what gets you a little bit closer to truth. And quite honestly, the program that you describe as Karmic Profile, I'm just enamored with. Absolutely enamored with. You talk about fractals. Well, when we were in Vegas, all the fractals that were broken, we were laughing so hard. The first time that either one of us had a wonderful time in Vegas. Prior to that, in other incarnations, they weren't fun. But this time, the two of us, it was just like two wild kids up and down the strip. And
we weren't, guys. We were wild kids up and down the strip. We were working. There's Cheryl on the line, Bill.
Kinda.
Fractal is Greg Braden's material, and so make sure that you look at his material. We're going to have McKinnon transfer Cheryl to Bill. There you go, honey. Just push the. There you go. Yeah.
Hello, Cheryl.
Yes.
Hi,
Hey,
Cheryl.
how you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good.
Doing fine.
Good. What's your question for us tonight?
Well, I just had a general, I just wanted to know a general idea, maybe, of a general reading.
Okay. So when you talk about general reading, are you talking about health, love, finances, relationships? Because I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover something right now. There's someone in your energy field, Cheryl, that has some shift or changes around something that they're doing with work. Is that you?
No, that would be probably my boyfriend.
Okay, so with that shift or change with something around work, even though at first it feels like there's negative energy around it, it's really positive energy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I think that there's probably some good things that are going to result from that. Can you tell me who's had some problem with their leg or their hip or their knee or their foot? There's something with the lower body here.
Well, foot, probably me.
Okay.
Leg or knee would be my boyfriend.
Okay. I still think I'm on your boyfriend then, but I will look at your foot, okay? But I still think I'm on your boyfriend because I seem to be like focused in his energy field, okay? Do you and your boyfriend live together, Cheryl?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because he feels like you're together, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like you're life partners. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah. Well, good, Cheryl. I think that it feels like that you've had to shake out a few rough edges, but not terribly, not sharp edges, and not really terribly, but there's just been a little adjustment. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I think you've gotten past that now. It feels like it's smooth now.
I'd say it is.
Yeah,
smoother than what it was.
Yeah, well, honey, he suffers from a disease called MAN.
I got that too.
Yeah, Billy's got that disease too. They all suffer a little bit, but he really is a good-hearted man. Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and so I think you're overlooking some of the other stuff that maybe at times communication issues. Okay. Do you know who Jim or James or Jamie is, honey? Jim, James, or Jamie?
No. No.
Is that around him at work?
Not that I can think of.
Is that around him at work, honey?
Jim, James. Not that I know of.
Okay, check that out because I'm getting that name around him also. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Now let's talk about your foot. Okay. Has it been something that's come and gone?
No, it started a little, I'd say a couple of months ago, and then it just comes in the heel.
Okay.
Mostly.
It feels like it's going to come and go. And in other words, I feel like it's going to be continued as a little bit of a weak spot for you there energetically, unfortunately. And I would recommend to you medical marijuana oil. I had almost carpal tunnel here. I thought I would have to have surgery, and I got some medical marijuana oil and rubbed it on there, and I can actually close my thumb. So that might help you with it. Yeah, it really does. Okay. It does really work on that kind of stuff. It's amazing. And sometimes I get arthritis in my knee, and I'll rub some of that on at night, and it lets me sleep because sometimes that arthritis makes your knee really bother you. Okay, what's going on? Am I on your boyfriend again? Let me see if I'm on you or your boyfriend again. What's going on with somebody's eyes? Who's having glasses issues or sight stuff? Or
that would be my mother.
Ah, okay. All right. What is your mother's name, please?
Dolores.
Okay. How old, honey?
She's 84.
Yeah, she's what, honey?
She's 83.
83. Oh my God! Don't age her now. Come on.
I age her.
She's a little bit of a pistol. She's a little bit of a pistol, isn't she?
Oh, she's a pistol, all right. Yeah, definitely.
I really get a kick out of her. If you ever want to get rid of her for a day or two, send her over to my house.
Oh my Lord! You might want to send her back a little sooner.
She really feels pretty awesome to me. She also though has a break across her chest field, sweetie. Does she have diabetes or high cholesterol or high blood pressure or anything with her? Okay.
Cholesterol. She has high cholesterol and high blood pressure.
Okay. All right. And did she have to have cataract surgery or something with her eyes, or are they just dry or?
No, she gets a needle in her eye every so often.
Oh, tell her, I'll hold space for her. No wonder I picked up on the eyes like that. Okay. All right. And do you know who Margaret or Marjorie or Peggy is?
I have a friend who I haven't seen in a while.
Okay, she's been thinking about she's been thinking about you. Yeah, she's been thinking about you. I just want you to know. You might Facebook her. Okay, so there's your male reading. No, here comes Bill. Okay, give her a general reading, darling.
Oh, here I am on the spot, right? And one of the things that for me that projects energy is stance, and being able to stand with shoulders square and looking straight at somebody makes you feel more empowered. And also it is one of the things too that will when you have a pain and a ball in the foot like you do, it could also be a difficulty of wanting to stand at that stature. Does that make sense?
A little bit.
He's saying that you don't always stand up for yourself. Texas is a foreign country, and since I've lived with him for about 7 months now, I'll translate for you in case you don't understand Texas talk. He's saying that you don't stand up for yourself always. That's what he's saying.
I don't know. Sometimes I do too much, I think. Sometimes I do it. And my mouth, it goes too much.
Okay, so sometimes people's mouths that go too much, who feel like they have to stand up for themselves all the time, is just the opposite of that. It's just the duality of that standing up for self. So that's still all about that stance or what you're doing in standing up in life, because sometimes people who don't feel like they have the right to stand up for themselves overcompensate by standing up for themselves too much. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
all right. Okay.
But she's. I like the fact that she's got somebody that she's happy with and working around that.
Do you know who Michael is?
That's my son.
Okay. How old is he?
20.
Has he been diagnosed with ADD?
No, he hasn't been diagnosed now.
Is he ADD without the diagnosis?
He He said, he says, and we joke around because sometimes we say he is, and he says he is.
Okay,
So,
I think I agree with him that he may be, but not to his detriment. But I think sometimes he can either hyper focus on something, or he just doesn't care and he lets it go.
Right.
So I believe he's got a little ADD also. But I got 2 out of 3 that have ADD, and they're the most fabulous people in the world. People think that ADD means something wrong, and it doesn't. It means a lot right. But I think he, I'm going to call him. Are you ready for this word I'm going to call your kid?
Go ahead.
Quirky.
Yeah. That's what we say.
I'm going to call that kid.
We have a couple of names.
Yeah, I'm gonna call that kid Quirky is what I'm going to call him. I like him. He is. Is it him or is it your boyfriend that drives the pickup truck?
No, nobody has a pickup truck. No.
Who did?
No, nobody.
Does one of Michael's friends? No. Did his father? I'm seeing a pickup truck, honey.
A pickup truck. His father possibly had one.
Okay, and he's got father issues. Michael's got father issues.
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they get along and everything. It's just an odd father-son relationship.
Yeah, because your ex-husband's emotionally immature. That's why.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the East Coast energy around you, Cheryl?
I'm sorry, what?
East Coast. What's the East Coast energy?
East Coast is where I live.
Oh, you're calling me from the East Coast, girlfriend?
Yeah. Oh. I'm a Jersey girl, always Jersey girl, but I'm in Pennsylvania.
Oh, where in PA are you, Cheryl?
I am by the Poconos.
Yeah.
Southburg.
Yeah. Listen, I used to work in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I used to drive through the Poconos all the time in my little car, smoking one cigarette after another while I sold advertising. In the days when it wasn't nasty to smoke, right? Who had cancer around you, darling?
Cancer? Oh gosh, I don't know. It could be a lot of people in my family.
Feels like it was chest. It feels like it was chest, lung, or liver.
Chest. Well, it wasn't. I don't know if it was cancer, but my father had trouble breathing.
Thank you. What's his name?
Jack.
Jack.
His name is John, but everyone calls him Jack.
Yeah. Do you know that your father spends time with Michael?
No, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, an energy. Who's the drinker? Who drank? Drink.
Michael's father a little bit. Nobody else that I could think of.
Okay, all right. So your father spends time in Michael's energy field, being some kind of a guidance system for him. And when I tap back into Michael, I see somebody around that drank. So maybe his father drank a little bit more than we thought. Who's Richard? Rick or Dick? Richard.
I have an uncle.
Very good.
An Uncle Richard.
Okay, and that's
his brother, my father's brother.
Yeah. Okay, so your father and his brother are hanging out. Okay, your father's hanging out with his brother. They hang out. That's a secret piece of information, so you know that I'm talking to your dad and that he's given some energy to Michael. Okay. All right.
Okay.
And your mother's sister. Yes, your mother has a sister.
Yeah. She has 2 of them.
What are their names, darling?
Alberta and Flossie or Florence.
Oh, I love that name, Florence. I had a grandmother named Florence. Who had the dementia or the Alzheimer's?
Nobody that I know of.
Around Alberta or Florence? Ask your mom. One of their husbands? One of their husbands?
I don't know unless it's somebody, that they know.
Okay, there's something with a brain compromise around somebody, either dementia, Alzheimer's, brain tumor, something with a brain compromise, okay? So, anyways, I want you to know Michael's quirky, and I think he's awesome. I want you to know that your mother can be sent to me by airplane here to Arizona. I'll keep her for a week and send her back. She's awesome. I want you to know that your boyfriend is a good guy. His job will be fine. It's just, a matter of him kind of adjusting. I want you to know that your dad and his brother are fine. And I want you to know that your foot probably needs a little bit of medical marijuana. And is there any other question I can answer for you tonight?
No, I just have 2 other children that I was wondering
let me have their names.
Stephen and my daughter Lauren.
Stephen and Lauren?
Stephen and my daughter Lauren. Mm-hmm.
How old is Stephen?
Stephen is 21.
And how old is Lauren?
Lauren is 10. She'll be 11 in June.
Okay, Lauren is a crystal child. Crystal children are interesting kids because they are very spiritually inclined. Does Lauren talk to you about spiritual energy?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think that she picks up on energy maybe empathically. Which one of them has had some trouble with their stomach, their tummy?
Possibly more so Lauren.
Because she's a sensitive.
Michael's like that. She takes right after Michael.
Yeah,
so.
I think she's a sensitive. Okay, and that's what a crystal child is. They're sensitive and they can feel things. So watch for her. She may develop some things that will be interesting. Okay. All right.
Okay.
And So, now don't get nervous when I tell you this. Okay, it's not one of them. Certainly not Lauren. But tell me why I'm seeing a baby or a pregnancy. Is one of Stephen's friends pregnant? Is one of Michael's friends? Do they have a cousin that's pregnant?
Pregnant. It better not be any of them.
No, that's what I said. It's not them, darling.
Yeah, I know. I'm not ready to be grandmother.
No.
Let's see. No, nobody that they've told me. I mean, they're pretty open with me.
Okay.
Nobody that I know
all right.
of.
I'm picking up on a baby or a pregnancy, and I don't know. Maybe it's just a cousin or something. Okay, but I'm picking up on one. And there's a move. Is Stephen moving?
Not that I know of, or he's. He's looking to probably move or get another place.
I see a move around Stephen. And who wears the baseball cap and who has the tattoo?
Well, Michael wears the cap, and they both have tattoos.
Okay. All right. So I'm just seeing the kids all at once here. Okay. So I think Stephen's going to move, but I think that there's somewhere here in your family line, maybe it's in your extended family, something with a baby or a pregnancy. I think Lauren is what we call asensitive. So she picks up on things. Do you know who Abby or Gabby is? Abby or Gabby?
Oh, yeah.
Who is?
Gabby is Michael. Abby is Michael's friend.
Well, let me just tell you this. Your quirky kid, Michael, overshadows his siblings when I'm trying to read everybody, because I go and then I get back to Michael, and I go and I get back to Michael, okay?
Always Michael.
Yeah, always Michael. And he'll tell you that, too, if you ask him. It's all about me, right? Stephen, what is Stephen taking in school, and who does construction or contracting work around you, darling?
Well, he's supposed to go back to school, but he was doing landscaping, but he's looking for a job now.
Okay.
But contracting, I used to have a business with my ex-husband, a masonry business.
All right. So I would pick that up around the kids because that's their father. And I think Stephen should go back to school, but maybe with a trade, to do a trade.
Yes, that's what I told him.
Yeah, you're right, Mama. You're right, Mama. Okay?
Good.
All right.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you for calling. We so appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
And you have a wonderful evening. We're going to take another call, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome,
That's
honey.
great. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Who do we have, McKinnon?
Debbie.
We have Debbie?
Hello, Debbie.
How you doing?
Pretty good, fine.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you tonight?
I am good. How are you?
We're good. We are just plugging along like a couple of happy campers. We still like each other.
I noticed that.
Is it that obvious, Debbie?
Well, actually, she's just keeping me around so she can have my dogs, that's all. And the only reason I'm staying is because I stole her dogs.
He cooks. He cooks.
He cooks. Let's see, does he kill books? Does he move furniture?
He moves furniture. He does a little bit of construction. He does the yard. He picks up dog poop and he cooks. What could make a girl happier?
Exactly. You've got it all.
I do. Hey, Debbie, I have got your son here with me.
Who's there?
And he's telling me to tell you that he's met up with Kevin.
It's his father.
Okay. And so so I know your son's name is Sean. I know that. So Sean's father is also on the other side.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So they're working out karma.
Okay.
Okay. Do you understand what he's saying to you?
Yes.
Okay. And he wants you to know that he's doing fine, and he's showing me a fishbowl or an aquarium. How come? Like a goldfish bowl or an aquarium, you know.
Oh yeah, he always had fish.
Okay, he's showing me a fishbowl. Okay, so he liked his fish when he was a kid, huh? Okay,
Absolutely.
and he's also showing me a snake.
Yes.
Why?
I just in December I just let mine go. I found her a new home.
Oh, you had a snake?
What kind of snake?
Yes, ma'am. She was a ball python.
Oh, how big?
Yes, her name was Angel. She was 5 years old. She was probably 4.5 feet long. She was small.
I'm scared of that, Deb.
I used to be too.
Well, what color was she?
Oh, she was the real pretty brown. She was very nice. She was very tame. I just couldn't give her as much attention as I used to, so I found her a new home, and I still get pictures of her and, check on her and everything. So, yeah.
Really?
That was Angel.
Did you have to feed her mice and stuff like that?
Oh, unfortunately, yes.
Oh, man, Deb. Okay, well, I'm so glad that Sean showed me this thing tonight. Woohoo, Sean! Yay!
There's a whole other side of me.
Oh, that's funny. He's going to tell all your secrets before we ever get done with this show. Who is William?
I know.
Who is William besides this one? Who is William or Bill? Bill.
Oh. Okay, yeah. Bill is somebody pretty important to me.
Can you tell me who he is, darling?
He is a friend that he's a friend that I started seeing again, and things are progressing into a different kind of relationship.
So, are you telling me you're gonna get a bill too?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think your son is glowing with happiness that he is giving you this information tonight. So, I think that you should keep moving forward the way you're moving forward. That feels like energy. That for you and Bill, it feels like it's full circle, karmic energy, yeah? And he's changed a bit from before.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I've been asking Sean as I go along because I've been so confused the past couple of months, not knowing if this is what I want, if this is where I need to be. And I keep saying, and I'll just say to him, dude, I need a sign, I need something, and I'm not getting anything, and there it is.
Well, okay, there you go, girl. There's your sign. I got Kevin, Fishbowl, Snake, and Bill written here on a piece of paper. There you go, girl. This is what your son. I'm going to have, you need to email me your email, and I'll have Izzy just email your son's writing to you for that tonight, okay, my friend? So that you have that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So did you have a question for us?
Oh, basically, that was my question. I wanted to know if I was on the right track with this person because it is complicated to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, the energy that's there, it feels like home. I don't know how else to explain it, but it feels like home. And it feels like where I'm supposed to be.
we understand that, and the complication should iron itself out soon.
Okay.
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 And so I think you just relax and try not to get into any fear and enjoy yourself and be yourself.
And that's one thing I can do. He knows the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Good. Good.
And he's still there.
Good. Well, that's really important, sweetheart. Honest and truly, if you can't be yourself with your partner, then don't. I mean, you got to reveal it all to somebody. I mean, that's right.
That's a true statement.
That's the truth. So sometimes we do so shockingly in front of my kids because I think they're surprised that we're so with all our cards on the table. My kids will take a little look back at me sometimes on it, but it's real important. So to change the karma to do that, okay?
Right. That was a big thing for me because, you know, I don't know how to explain it other than it feels right and it's going along smoothly. But there are a couple of things that make me wonder. But as long as it's good, then it's good.
Well, if they're not true red flags are, you know, lying, cheating,
right.
Lying, cheating.
Yes,
okay. Those are true red flags. That kind of thing. Okay.
Right.
All right. So you know you got to watch. You know those are the true red flags. Other stuff communication stuff can be worked out. You know, differences in money issues, that kind of stuff can be worked out. There is a dollar sign around him.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it could be either. When I see a dollar sign around somebody, it either means that they have money or it means they struggle with money.
Okay. Yeah.
Money is money, sex, blended families. Those are things that people fight about, Deb. And remember, the things that keep people together are respect first, trust second, love third, or trust first, respect second, love third. But love is always third.
Okay.
Because trust and respect are the top. If people stop trusting each other, if they stop respecting each other, the love will erode. Love doesn't keep people together. Okay?
That's for sure. Because you can love somebody and still not hear anything really there.
That's exactly right. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, sweetheart. Thank you for calling. We're going to take another call, and we'll look forward to next week. Okay?
Alrighty. Have a great week.
You too, honey. Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Who do we have, McKinnon? Pardon?
Tracy.
Tracy.
Tracy? Thanks for holding on that transfer right over.
McKinnon's transferring Tracy over. We got it?
Hello, Tracy.
Hello, Tracy. Tracy?
Tracy, there you are.
Yes.
Hi, Tracy.
Yes, I'm here.
How are you, honey?
Hi, Melinda.
Hi,
Good,
sweetheart.
how are you?
Good, honey. How are you? What's going on?
Well, I haven't listened to the show so far, so I don't know what you're talking about, but I saw the email and I wanted to call in because I just learned that Billy's older son overdosed and died on Friday.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry, Tracy. Let me take a look at it, sweetheart, and let me take a look at it. And yeah, all we're doing is readings tonight, so you did exactly right. Okay. Give me his son's name, please.
Austin.
Okay, so the way it comes at me, Tracy, is that Austin has been on the edge for a while. I'm going to say a good few years. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going to also say that Billy moved into denial and then trying to do something about it, but then denial. Like there's energy that was back and forth on it. I think he looked the other way a lot and was in denial and thought that the kid would outgrow whatever, and then he got scared and he tried to do something about it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Austin's transition went fine because the overdose feels like it was non-violent. And what I mean by that is it feels like he overdosed in a way. Was it opiates? Do you know whether it was heroin?
It was probably. I didn't hear those nitty-gritty details.
Do you know whether he was an opiate user, Oxycontin, Oxycodone, Percocet, Percodan, heroin?
Yes, and meth.
Oh, you can't overdose on meth, though.
It
So it's got to be. I've got to double check my facts on that, everybody, because I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a drug counselor, but I believe you can't overdose on meth. It feels like it was opiates to me. Let me just say it that way. Energetically, it feels like it was opioids, and it feels like he then went to sleep. He kind of faded out. Okay.
Okay.
And it feels to me like a grandparent, but it doesn't feel like it was on Billy's side. It feels like it was on his mother's side. Was a greeter to him. So he did have a grandparent that came that he recognized and had connection with. Okay. And if I get some names around him, you're probably not going to know it. So I'm going to try to leave that. How are you doing? Because I know this has been a long-term relationship for you, that you care about this person. I don't know how much you knew of his son, or whether you met him several times or just once or twice. How are you doing, sweetheart?
Well, I feel bad for him. My heart breaks for him, and he's broken. I've never heard his voice like this. He's having a hard time with it, and he's calling me and he's texting me in the middle of the night, going, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And I'm just trying to be positive, and in the response of, I'm so sorry for your loss, without trying to cross over that boundary, because it hurts. But he told me, give me a month, I've got to fix my things. I don't know what's going on, and it leads me to believe. In other words, well, he basically told me, I wish we were together, and that is hurting, along with all the rest of this. That's hurting. So I'm trying to not be selfish in the moment of him losing his son.
Well, I think that you're doing absolutely the right thing. The kindness and you did have a connection. There was a love connection there, and I think that you're doing absolutely the right thing. And Tracy, the thing is that because do you mind if I share this in front of the other angels?
No, go right ahead.
Because you lost a boyfriend when he was very, very young. What was it, 6 or 7 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
You know that shock and that terrible feeling of that kind of loss. And so you understand the energy more than some people do. And so Billy's going to need somebody that actually understands that energy. So I think that it's important to try to stand by for him. I don't know how that's going to move into other things energetically for you, but I think it is important to stand by for him. Do you have any idea who Susan or Suzanne is?
No.
Okay. So I'm getting that name around Austin. Do you know what his mother's name is?
Julia.
Okay. Okay. I think you just have to stand by the best way you can, honey. And then obviously, you know somebody that can talk to Austin for him at some point in time. You can share that information with him, and he can do with it what he wants.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Can you?
I just didn't know if there was something I could share with him now, just to kind of help him with this, the shock of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty broken up. Like I've never ever seen before.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course. I mean, you can't. The loss of. Do you know who Ryan is? Ryan or Brian?
No.
Okay, so see, I'm getting things around Austin that you wouldn't know. So just tell him that his transition went peacefully. McKenna, you can't overdose on crystal meth, can you? To pass away from it. You can.
He was in jail, and they were medicating him from when he was originally brought in there on Seroquel or something like that. And so when they let him out, he didn't have anything else, and he went straight to the streets where he knew, and he took one dose, and that's what did it.
Well, I still think it's opioids. McKinnon says yes, you can overdose from crystal. Seroquel is an anti-anxiety kind of a drug, and it's given for sleep often and that kind of thing. But we have had a close friend who was sober from heroin for a very long time and did it one time thinking he could use the same amount that he once did, and it killed him. That happens, Tracy. And I guess you just have to tell Billy that you know that he's safe, that you know that for a fact, that you've watched mediums work, that you've talked to your Tom, that you know that, and that if he wants proof that Austin's safe, he's needs to come in, make an appointment when he's down here in Scottsdale.
Can you see what this brings for him and Billy's future of how he's going to be able to get through this?
Yeah, it gives him I just want you to know, McKinnon just looked up that crystal meth gives you a heart attack if you overdose on it, but I just don't feel like that's what it was. It gives Billy a window of opportunity to find his spirit. And I know my other mothers, I just got off the phone with Deb she lives in upstate New York, and I know my other mothers that are listening will tell you that you don't have many choices when you've lost a child. You either move into a perpetual state of being a victim to it, or you move into spirituality. And so it's a window of opportunity for Billy to change some of his feelings about who he is and what he does in his lifestyle, which may be why he's calling you and going back to you, because you were the most real thing that was in his life. And because you put the boundaries out with him and said, I'm not going to be part of the stable of ponies. I think that maybe that's why he's reaching out for you, sweetheart. So, I think this is a window of opportunity for Billy. Now, there are things about him that I know that he's done in the past, things that you have shared with me over time that have been spiritual around him. Like we had given him, I say we because I've been coaching you on this. We had given him some opportunities to make changes because he showed glimpses of his own spirituality in other times and other situations in your life. Like, one time with your kids and so on. So there have been glimpses of Billy being able to move into his spirit. And this may be the window of opportunity for him to do it. But what I do know, Tracy, is when somebody's lost a child, if they can sit with a medium, and a good medium, it doesn't have to be me. If there's a good medium in Colorado, I don't know of one there. I could ask James. that medium will give names and dates and specifics so that the parent knows their child is safe and okay. That's the most important movement of energy that I see with people who've lost a child. As soon as they come in and I've got the name of their best friend and their grandmother and this and that, then they say, my kid is okay. Then, even though there's still grief, they work on and develop a relationship with their child on the other side, knowing that person is okay and in a different dimensional frequency. So there's a lot of spiritual work in front of Billy, and maybe that's part of the karmic profile between you and he. Maybe you're supposed to be the guiding force for him. Maybe that's what Billy's intuition did when he reconnected to you right around Christmas time or whenever that was. And, remember, and you drove past and la 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 la, and the universe kind of put him back in your place, and you said to me, why is this SOB back in my life? Well, this would be what?
Yeah. Well, and through the next several days, like they're going to do the funeral on Sunday or Saturday, is there going to be any sort of peace he's going to feel as he transitions through this? And with his son, is the son there for him? Is he going to have any of those? Everybody always goes
to their own funeral, darling. So of course his son will be there, but Billy won't be able to feel him because Billy is really wrestling with guilt right now. Billy feels responsible. Billy feels so burdened with guilt and so responsible and so anxiety ridden and so, I'm going to use the word ashamed, is what Billy feels right now. And it's going to take him some time to move through that to get to another place. So, it's a very sticky wicket with drug addiction and drug addicted kids and all of that stuff, and with a kid that's been in prison, and so, and especially with somebody that's a high roller like Billy, there's a lot of guilt about what I should have, could have, would have done.
Right.
So
sure.
Again, all you can do, honey, is stand by and give him the best of your spiritual advice and stand by and listen. Just listen, listen and listen and listen. That's what you got to do.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Now,
So
the name
thank you,
Susan, the name
thank you.
Susie or Susan, sweetheart, is a name that's of my generation. Although my father's mother was named Susan, so it can be an older person's name, but it's rare. It's usually of my generation. So it's either a friend of Julia's or something. I don't think it's in Austin's generation, is what I'm trying to say. So maybe I'm just getting something around his mother. Okay? But the Ryan or the Brian feels like it's in Austin's energy field.
Okay.
Okay, darling?
And who is Ryan and what is Ryan doing?
I think it's either a drug connection. A drug connection, maybe.
Okay, so maybe a friend or something.
You got it. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, and I'm here for you. I'm always, Bill and I are always here for you. You're our favorite girl, and we're always here for you. You know that, sweetheart.
I do. Thank you so much. That gives me a lot of comfort.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, honey. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, honey.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, so anybody that wants to call it 602-875-0444, and we do have about 30 minutes left to give you a reading if you do want to call. And so give us a holler here. You can hear my son's voice on the other side of the microphone now. He's been taking the calls and so on, and so if you hear me say McKenna, that's my son, and he looked up that crystal meth thing. And if anybody has any familiarity with that, give us a call. I think I want to explain. I think that Tracy will allow me to explain karmic profiling through the phone call, and that is that there's no accidents why we're in each other's lives. I joke around, and Billy jokes around that he's going to take a number because I've been married a few times. So is he, by the way, but he just never says it, but he has. But there's always a reason somebody's in your life, okay? And in this particular situation, Tracy had a significant other, a boyfriend, who died very young. And he also had some, not from drugs, but he had drug and or alcohol issues from his background. So then this man that she was seeing, who has the son that passed away, has the similar karmic profile. So it's kind of like a giant switchboard, your karmic profile, where you're plugging in different energy that fits into the karmic profile. So I found it very interesting that I asked my cousin, because you guys know I'm writing a book about karmic profile and understanding it, and that's going to be out right around the same time as JVP and I are going to be together, and he has a new book too coming out at the same time. So we're going to have some real fun and go and have a book signing together right before the Thursday night before our event. Mm-hmm. But I don't know much about my dad's side of the family. I always teach karmic profiling from my mom's side of the family, and so I emailed a cousin of mine who lives in Georgia. Actually, my only remaining Vail relative is this cousin, because my father had an only brother. My Uncle George died. Uncle George's wife died. my cousin's sister Kay died. So it's only my cousin. He's my only living Vail relative. And so I reached out to him to give me some information on the Vail side of the family, which was really interesting. And the reason it's interesting is I had a past life with one of my ex-husbands. This is a story that I tell, whose name is Walter. And I had a past life with him where we were in the Civil War together. And I went with the Union and he went with the Confederacy. And I saw him get shot and killed on the battlefield. And I lost my leg on the battlefield and went home to my farm in Pennsylvania and basically was depressed for the rest of that lifetime. And after I had that past life regression, I went home. I was studying hypnotherapy at the time. And when you're studying hypnotherapy, you work on each other. And I went home and I said to him, I had a past incarnation with you and I want to see what you get. So I hypnotized him and he said, we're in the Civil War together. You're going with the Union, I'm going with the Confederacy. You're abandoning me, you always abandon me. And then he saw himself get killed. Well, of course, karma is repeating patterns. When you understand what karma is, it's really about repetitive patterns, which goes back to what I'm saying about Tracy and her boyfriend, or Bill with his mom that took her own life, and the fact that I work in that field and my son lost people that way. I mean, there's always this plugging in of a law of attraction, like attracts like, and karma is a repetitive pattern. So I repeated that karmic pattern and I abandoned him again. And about 17 or 18 years of not speaking to him, I knew that he had moved. I had moved on. He had moved on. Thought about him from time to time, of course. I had a dream, and I thought in the dream the indicator was that one of his parents was going to pass away. And so I private messaged him on the Facebook and asked him about his parents, and he said no, that his parents were still alive, but he had heard that my mother had passed away, and he was really sorry about it, and he had thought about me and the kids over the years. And I said, I just wanted to tell you that I'm very sorry for whatever my role was in the end of our marriage. And he said so too, and la 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 la, and that was like a closure. And a year later he had a heart attack and died. And so we had closed out that karmic profile. But back to my cousin and my family background, I found out that I had two great grandparents and a great grandfather, a great great grandfather, and a great great uncle that were soldiers in the Civil War for the Union. And so I wonder if actually one of them was me. So that's, because you do reincarnate into your own family. You do reincarnate into your own family. So I think that would be very, very, very interesting to see how you can walk in your ancestors' shoes in your karmic profile. So all this interest in ancestors and seeing background and plugging in the karmic profile, because in the karmic profile we talk about nature and nurture and what comes through the DNA, and it could be that you were your own DNA. Did you ever think about that?
Wow. It gives a whole new meaning to mirrors.
It's interesting, huh?
You become a reflection of yourself.
A reflection of yourself. Yeah. If you're coming down through your karmic profile. So my son here, when he was in high school, he had a friend that was a girl. I always thought she was a girlfriend, but I was always corrected. And they've been together as friends for like 22 years now. So I stand corrected because they never got together. They're still friends. But they were supposed to go out together, and he said that he had changed his mind about going out with her. He was like, I don't know. She's a year older. Isn't she a year older? Elise, half a year? Okay. So anyway, he came to me and said he wasn't going to go out with her. And I said, why? And he said, because she drinks. And I'm not going to go out with her and drink. I'm never going to drink because I had a meditation. He said he had something that came to him that he had been an alcoholic in a past life, and he was never going to drink in this one because he had been abusive to somebody in a past life. And he thought it was my mother that he had been abusive to. And he told me this when he was a teenager. And I said, well, then don't drink. And I said to my mother, did you ever have an alcoholic uncle that was abusive to you? She said, yes, his name was James. His middle name is James, McKinnon James, but I didn't name him James because of my mother's uncle. I named him James because that's his father's father's name. But his father's father was also an alcoholic. So it plugs in all the way through. So he might have been my great uncle and reincarnated back to me to be my kid.
So the mirror reflects and reflects.
The mirror reflects again. So, there's just all kinds of things you can do with it when you're doing your ancestry and stuff. Now, he might not have been James. I don't know. But it was just an interesting thing. What comes out of a 16-year-old's mouth when you're raised by a mother that does psychic work? Well, you're free to say what thoughts occur to you, right? So, there was another time I took my daughter and my niece to San Francisco. And my daughter knew exactly where the streets were. We were trying to find something. She said, well, turn right here, Mom. And I said, well, how do you know? She said, I just do. And she found where we were looking for in San Francisco. I'd never been there before. But she's quite sure she had a past incarnation there.
Yeah, I understand.
So, very interesting stuff, huh? So, anyway, I think that everybody should look at their family background and do some of that plugging in, because when we understand our karmic profile, we can heal it. But you can't heal something that you don't understand.
No, and that requires taking a look at repetitive patterns in your life and looking at, well, if I've done this and this was the result, and then I did it again and it was the same result, then I shouldn't do that again. Mm-hmm. But that's a hard thing to do, because we get so wrapped up in our lives we can't step back and see the trees. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And, a lot of times people think, well, that I can hear things from the other side. We talked to Cheryl from Pennsylvania. I don't know Cheryl, and got her uncle's name and her son's name and some things about her life and yada, yada, yada. And how does that happen? And it must mean that my life has got to be absolutely perfect because, I can hear things from the other side. Truth is, nobody can read for themselves, and that's a real important message that I want to give to everybody, that mediums are just people, and those people who are mediums that say that they're better than everybody else, run from them, because they're not. And yes, that's what they do for work, or that's their job and so on, but it doesn't mean that there's clear karma in their life. It still means there's a karmic profile. And Billy and I were just talking earlier tonight about how surprising it is, because he just jumped into this business with me and discovered how surprising it is that spiritual teachers and leaders are not spiritual at all. Many. One of the reasons I like James so much is because he is spiritual and does do things with integrity. But if my car breaks down, I got to call a mechanic. I don't call a spirit to come fix my car. So, a lot of times there's a misunderstanding about what that is in the karmic profile, too, with people with that energy.
Well, right, because I guess the intent or the purpose is to be of service to others, because if you could be of service to yourself, then why are you here in the first place? It's about service to others.
So, can I still use you for a minute, son? I'm teaching. So using the karmic patterns and profiles in life. So did you know that oftentimes police are trained, if somebody is acting weird and smelling weird, to check and see if they're a diabetic, because they may absolutely smell and act like they're drunk. Did you know that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, being a medic back in the Army.
So interestingly, even if my son did decide not to touch alcohol in this lifetime, because that was a karmic pattern that he decided to break, he decided that he wasn't going to do that, he came into this life being a diabetic. Similar energy. When Bill and I met, I didn't say to him, do you have a kid that's a diabetic? Because I have a kid that's a diabetic, and if we both have kids that are diabetics, we're a match made in heaven. And of course not. But he too has a kid, and that's a diabetic. Yeah. So that commonality, that energy that's common, that law of attraction, understanding the hidden and subtle energies that cause patterns in life. So the thing is that when we both have kids that have a similar medical issue, we have a deep understanding what each other goes through being a parent of somebody that has that kind of medical issue, because diabetes is actually a pretty lousy situation.
Yes, it is. But
it's very much associated in lots of ways with alcoholism, because a lot of times diabetics can have mood swings and stinking thinking like alcoholics and that kind of thing because their blood sugars vacillate.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at these patterns, these repetitive things, I look at my daughter who's diabetic, and against all advice, medical and family, not to have children, she's had 4. And this has created some opportunity in her life for figuring out who she is and how to be the parent that I wasn't.
Yeah. That's hard stuff. You think she's changing that karmic pattern?
No.
You think that there's other contributions to the karmic pattern?
Yeah. Oh,
Do you think your son is changing the karmic pattern?
Absolutely. Night and day difference.
Yeah. Speaking of his son, I have to tell you, nobody call me on July 7th and 8th because I am going to Dallas to watch our grandsons play in the Little League World Series. And I guess they're quite accomplished as little baseball guys, aren't they?
Well,
They bat something big. I don't know anything about baseball, but apparently they're good at it.
Yeah, little Easton, 8 years old, bats .750 in fast pitch.
Is that good?
That's like over the moon.
I
Good.
see.
If you bat .250, people consider you a good hitter. He's batting .750.
Is that a karmic pattern?
I have no idea where that one came from.
Interesting. We'll have to investigate that and report back, right?
That is a good one. And his older brother is turning into a very good pitcher, but he doesn't follow the mechanics and the rules as well as he can, and it takes away from his game.
Interesting.
So it's like he's purposefully causing subterfuge for himself. I wonder where that comes from.
Well, you know how the sports stuff falls into our switchboard and plugging in for us? Is that my father was a tremendously accomplished athlete, baseball, football, basketball, golf, scratch bowler, like a very accomplished sports person.
Oh,
so,
and
okay.
McKinnon, with
McKinnon
being
was
a champion
wrestler and also was a great baseball player. Not at that level that your boys are, but that's because he didn't have the opportunity and the focus. So we've got Debbie on the line again, Bill. So let's see what Debbie has to say here for our last few minutes here. Hold on, Debbie, and we'll get to you.
Here she comes.
Hi, Deb.
How you doing?
Hi, just a quick question.
Please go for it.
Okay, how do you know if you're on the right path of changing your karmic profile?
That's a very good question. So first and foremost, whenever there is repeating energy, and you can't communicate your way through it. And what I mean by that is, let's just say that you always attracted, let's use it let's do a relationship analogy on it, okay, Deb? So let's just say that, you've always attracted somebody to you that was an alcoholic or a child of an alcoholic or something like that, okay?
Okay.
Would that fit in your profile?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then let's just say that now you're involved with somebody who is not an alcoholic, but drinks a little bit more than you would like them to. Does that fit into your karmic profile?
Yes.
Okay. So the key to it is to see about communicating around whether his drinking really is a problem or whether your trigger back to what you've been through is really the problem, or how do you communicate so that maybe this person slows down a little bit on the drinking if it does trigger you back in some way. It's all about communication. Okay. Now, if it really is a problem and you're knowing that it's a problem, your job is not to try to fix him, not to try to be codependent, not to try to do any of the things that you've done in the past. Okay, your job is to just done, and to do it quicker, faster, without the torture that you might have put yourself through in other relationships. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So one of my karmic patterns, sweetheart, is to be either emotionally aloof, where I will step back and not communicate my thoughts or my needs or whatever, to kind of swallow myself for somebody else in order to, I'm kind of like Sally Field. I need somebody to like me to really like me. And so in this in this relationship that I have now, I may say to him, I'm not emotionally prepared to discuss this at this time. And then I'll come back to him and say, okay, I'm ready. And I made a conscious effort in this relationship to change that dynamic and not to do what I normally had done in other relationships.
Okay.
So you have to be really conscious of your patterns and make a conscious effort to switch them on your own.
So that would be where that came in previously when I was doing the work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you said when it was time, it would happen, but I needed to concentrate on myself first.
Right.
And that was my understanding me and being in a good place where I am and I understand where I've been and where I want to be. Correct?
Right, exactly. Okay. Now your job in a relationship is to be very clear in your communication. Very clear. Okay. So we actually work really hard at this because neither one of us have had a very great track record. And so we actually decided when we got together to work hard at this, and both of us try to not do what we used to do. So we actually try to talk about it, like, and not go into. Both of us have been. I have the patience of a gnat.
That's an exaggeration. Gnats have much more patience.
And I have to really work at trying to communicate in different ways, and so we actually really do talk about things, and so hopefully you and Bill can move into a place where you're actually talking about things, so that you're not triggered back or bringing old baggage into a relationship or reacting the same way that you used to react. I guess basically, to put it in a nutshell, it's changing from reaction to response. Okay, and that's how you know you're changing your karmic profile. That you're putting yourself first, not in a selfish way, not in a narcissistic way. You're putting yourself first. You're communicating your needs and what it means. You're honoring your trigger backs and explaining them to your significant other. And you're changing from reaction to response. Okay?
That makes sense.
Good.
So far, so good with the two of us then. Then I am on the right track.
Good.
I just wasn't sure how to tell if I was changing what's happened previously into where I'm going now.
Mm-hmm. But your karmic profile actually doesn't ever. How do I say this? Because I once you have a karmic profile, it's always present in your life. Okay.
Right.
So, but it's how you shift from your response to it that makes the difference. So he still fits perfectly into my karmic profile. He still has some of the same things that I have attracted in the past. I'm just doing it differently with him.
That sounds very familiar where I am right now.
Yeah, so that's how it has to work. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, well, and one of the things that I brought to the program here, or to our relationship, is that I always had this whole concept of Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, and that type of thing. And the best way to deal with any problem was just to detach from it, don't deal with it, and just let it sit in the rearview mirror somewhere. And I'm finding that the best thing to do is actually stop, look at it, deal with it, no matter how difficult it is, just and then understand where the other person is coming from. Listen to what they're trying to say and understand it. And that, I guess, is kind of the hard thing is not only listening but attempting to understand the importance that they attach to not only the words that they're using but to the emotions and the things that drive them, and to use Melinda's term, things that trigger them.
Yeah.
Because I have not been sensitive to that. If it triggers you, you're the one with the problem, not me. Go away. That was the old attitude.
Right. Yeah.
See, my mother was a custodial parent, Deb, so that wasn't stoicism, but it was detachment. So if he gets into stoic energy and he's detached from me, it'll just drive me crazy. And I used to really act out if somebody did that. So I still attracted it to me, but I don't act out anymore. However, I will tell you, do you mind if I share that with you?
No, go ahead.
I will tell you that because I have insisted on his opening his throat chakra and communicating, he ended up having a cyst in his throat since we've been together, and had to go to the Alona, the doctor, and get some medication for it, because that's how stuck his throat chakra actually was, and it manifested into the physical. And so we, we knew that it was a manifestation of what we were working on. But, a lot of times health issues are a manifestation of something, emotional or mental. So it was very interesting as we processed all that need to open up that throat chakra and get that stoicism to move. And there are times that it's good to be neutral. But neutrality and stoicism are two different things. But I think that maybe there's some blend in that. So, but I think you're on the right track, darling. I really do. And I just think you have to just double check your heart. Listen to the brain in your heart. Don't listen to the brain in your head. And learn how to respond rather than react, okay?
Okay. All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you both so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. You have a good night.
Good night.
You too. Good night.
So what Debbie was talking about was understanding the behavioral attributes associated with your patterns. And that's what we're really, focusing on when we're talking about spirituality, and understanding how spirituality and psychology kind of braid together in order for you to make balance in your life. Because you can't just work with the psychological or the intellectual aspects of who you are. You have to work with the spiritual or the energetic pieces of who you are and how that blends into your intellect. People who intellectualize too much and don't emotionalize also have difficulty. People who emotionalize without bringing energy into it and understanding patterns and their spirit have difficulty. So it's about your soul purpose to find what your lessons are, and your lessons are a result of all the experiential data, everything that you experience in your life, but also filter through the DNA and those subtle or hidden patterns that, and I'm speaking about my son's hidden patterns tonight. He may not even have recognized the diabetes alcoholic combination in the law of attraction with that. So, and then you have to find a way to surrender to master your negative patterns. You have to, a lot of times people, once they understand or recognize their karmic profile, they say, I want to change it, I want to change it, I want to change it. And again, it's not about changing it, it's about surrendering to it, honoring it because it's what you've chosen, and then moving into the shift in your behavior or your attitude towards it. It's not about changing the pattern, because you still fit into my patterns.
And I go back to this thing about talking about philosophies and ideals and that sort of thing. And basically what karmic profile and understanding that is a bit of a roadmap that creates a vocabulary and understanding and where you are on this pathway. Whereas if you look at things of just being, that's sitting and saying Om, and that isn't going to help. And it's good to have the tools in such a way as that you can begin dissecting that person in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think of it like a giant switchboard, plugging in all the different pieces that go into your karmic profile to understand wholly who you are and what that means.
Well, and on the other side of the switchboard are lots of other switchboards and lots of other wires. It's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
And wow, I guess that's the reason why we're just neurons in some great mind somewhere, I guess.
Well, I hope we are anyway. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed the show tonight. I appreciate the call-ins. I have gotten the name Eleanor Helen, so I don't know if somebody named Eleanor Helen is out there listening and needs a message, or if there's an Eleanor Helen from the other side that's giving a message. But for some reason I got that name, and it could be that I got that name when I was connecting to the mother of the first caller, because it's kind of on that page, but I see on my paper that I didn't say it, and so I should have said it. And then the other thing that I should have said was when I was talking to Tracy, I got a Lynn or Linda or Lindsay, and again, I don't know whether that has to do with Austin's family and his mother, because those Susan and Linda are more generational names of our generation rather than Austin's. But anyways, I was sorry to hear that about Austin. Next week, I think we're going to have a guest, are we?
We are going to have a guest. It's going to be a surprise guest. It's going to be very exciting, and it's going to be in the Angelgram, and you are just going to have to stay tuned in order to find out. And I do ask that you respond to my email that I'm going to be sending out over the next day or so regarding some changes and things that we're considering here at the program, so that we can better serve and have more fun.
Absolutely. So again, we are in California the last week in June. I think we have 4 spots left that are hanging out there, because I think we've had 4 spots left for a bit. So maybe they're not met. Maybe I'm supposed to lay on the beach for those 4 hours. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, also we're all full up in Minnesota, I think.
Bemidji, Minnesota.
The
teeming metropolis.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
We're all done in Hawaii. So I think and then Pillars.
The 4 Pillars, the tickets just went on sale today, and bam, people are lining up and buying the bundle package, which is really, it's really going to be a great, great show. Because when you get 4 women together,
really
like
5,
you,
because we have
there's Heather,
Heather that's
going
to be there, and her energy brings so much to the table.
I think the sum of the parts is going to be phenomenal. They're going to have to wrap the building in duct tape to hold it together.
Okay, Mary Poppins. And then look for us to do something with SOS at the Franciscan Renewal Center. We don't have that quite lined up yet, but we will look forward to getting those tickets for JVP. And that's going to be so much fun. And
I anticipate that selling out quickly, because when we hit the radio circuit beginning later this month, we're going to be on John Burroughs' show. You're going to be on John Burroughs' show.
Yes.
And then several different programs in the end of May, and then in June.
Uh-huh.
So when the word goes out there nationally, and there are a lot of folks that want to come to Phoenix,
they will come
in November.
Will come. They will come. If you build it, they will come in Phoenix in November, so they can get some warmth before their snow, or during their snow, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then the cruise in November.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're going to go in the Caribbean. Come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, and for the questions for the readings, and some discussion on karmic profile. And we'll look forward to next week with a special guest, and we'll see you then. Have a good night.